welcome back to Just 5 Mins. And, well, couldn't resist doing a little episode about the chat bot from OpenAI. There's been, I think, literally probably by now, millions of podcasts and videos and everything else. But anyway, I couldn't resist. A little bit late to the party, but what can you do? But if you don't know, there's a few of these going around, by the way. I say going around, but there's a lot of this stuff happening with obviously the whole world of AI. But OpenAI, which interestingly has got a twist on the Azure side, because I think there's a lot of the Azure infrastructure being used there. But they've done there's been GPT-3, which is the text processor. Brilliant. Yeah, very good. And then there was DALL-E and DALL-E 2 to generate images. And I think there's a couple that are, generating video now from either base images or just literally text. But CHAT GPT is like a level above. It really is. And there's loads of stuff on there. So, it's going to take all our jobs, IT jobs and all this or whatever. I mean, who knows? The way it's going, it may well do. But for a bit of fun, ironically, it's actually they've hit capacity. No wonder, unsurprisingly, with the amount of publicity and people trying this out. It's been down actually for me anyway for the last 2 or 3 days, which is. There's a good point. If you're relying on this thing to give you answers all the time, it is in preview, in all fairness, and beta or whatever. But I started just doing the usual rubbish, really, like, write me a short poem about, the sea or something silly like that. It comes back with really reasonable sort of responses. But then I stumbled across, I think it's Nick Chapsis on the .NET side of things, where he did a video about, and it was really good because he was really pushing some of the, .NET side. It doesn't really matter about the language here, obviously, but like how could it actually generate real code, test cases, things like that? And it did. And he was pretty impressed with what he found. I'll pop a link in the show notes. But I just had a quick go myself because every now and again I leave, I delve into the coding world, then drop out for a bit. And I've been using Vue.js on the JavaScript front for development and of course .NET Core for the back end at the moment. And I thought, okay, let's try to twist it up a little bit and see what happens. So I said to the chatbot when it was working, write me a .NET app, a web API actually, that uses JWT, Java, JSON Web Tokens for the authentication. Okay. And it went and generated pretty much what you'd expect if you were going to write that class yourself in .NET Core. That was pretty amazing. I then, and because it's a chatbot, it remembers your previous things. So you can say, well, expand on this or explain what that line's doing there. And it will. And it does. It's pretty impressive. So I actually managed to get a very simple endpoint with just get puts, post deletes and things like that. It wrote the code and I copied it into Visual Studio and it worked. There was a couple of libraries missing, NuGet packages, restore those. Then I thought, okay. So I said, well, write me a Vue.js application to consume a .NET endpoint using JWT. And it pretty much gave me the whole boilerplate that I needed. I copied into VS Code, just, there was again a couple of little tweaks that I had to make. So I really, that, and I'm sure you can try that in Rust, in Go, in other languages, maybe not PHP, because who's going to understand that? Sorry, bit of a dig at PHP. I shouldn't do that. But either way, it's definitely worth a look. But will it take our jobs? I don't know. I think it can give you consistent feedback, and it did write test cases really well. So maybe it's going to be doing like a lot of the mundane sort of tasks, as it were. And obviously you have to know what you want to get back and how to term things. So, you know, you can't just say, write me a program. Well, maybe you can eventually, you know, write me a mobile app to do this, that and the other. But I think you need to know what you need and then expand on it and go through that. But certainly a massive level up on anything that I've seen of late around that. So a little bit late to the party, old news perhaps, but that's what I've got for this time around, and we'll certainly catch you in the next one.